Okay, well, it's 4:02. Let's go ahead and get started for all the folks that were here at 4 o'clock. It looks like we've got about 17 participants. Welcome to Graphics with GIMP. I'm Bob Lofton. I'm one of the librarians over at Haggard Library. Hannah, will you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Hannah. I am primarily at Parr Library, but we are one library, 5 locations. A lot of us are working from home right now. So I am an instructor at Parr, and I'm here to assist Bob in chat. So if you guys have any questions, ask him in that chat in the bottom, and I will ask Bob for you.
Very good. And so I always like to go over this introductory slide. Obviously, you have checked your email because you're here. Your microphone has been muted. You can use the chat, like Hannah said, to ask us questions, and we will get to those questions as best we can. We do ask that you be respectful when making comments. My screen should be already shared with you. So are you seeing my screen, Hannah?
I sure am. Looks good.
Awesome. Okay. And sometimes you might see additional video content shown, but not in this case. We're just going to be exploring this application and whatnot. So let's get started with graphics with GIMP. So I like to start these with just a simple roadmap to let you know what we're going to be doing. This is going to be a very simple class because GIMP is a very complicated program. So at the end, I'll be telling you about some resources that you can access free through the library to learn GIMP in depth. But what we're going to talk about now is what is it and how do you get it and why you might want to use it. And then we're going to do a very simple project, which is going to be to create a simple disposable restaurant menu. So for instance, if you were a restaurant owner right now and you want to be able to just print off your menu, have it look, presentable, but you want it to be disposable, this is an application you could use to do that. And obviously there are other applications. So our goals are to learn a little bit about GIMP and create this simple document. But beyond that, I want to tell you some strategies that I like to use when I'm doing this kind of work in any application. And I think that might help you because you may not be using GIMP to do this, but you'll be able to use some of the same strategies elsewhere, whether you're using Photoshop or some free online resource or really anything. So GIMP actually stands for GNU Image Manipulation Program. It is unfortunately named GIMP, but it is a good application. And this little guy here with the paintbrush in his mouth, when you see that, that's the GIMP icon. So that is their mascot. So to get GIMP, you will go to this website, gimp.org. And that is their website. And this is freeware, and it's essentially open source image editing. I like to call it poor man's Photoshop because if maybe you're familiar with Adobe Photoshop, and if you are, you're also familiar with the fact that it's very expensive. Back when you were able to actually purchase it, it was hundreds of dollars. Now it's at least about $25 a month subscription to have it. So, but GIMP is something you can just download, and it has most, if not all, of the functions that you can do in Photoshop. So it's a great and very powerful and very deep tool for doing photo manipulation and image creation and whatnot. So you would go here, and of course up here at the top there's a download link. You can download it for almost any computer platform, Windows, Mac, Linux, whatever, and just install it and you'll be able to use it. So where are we going from here? I think the best thing to do is just actually start taking a look at GIMP, and this is it. So this is what the GIMP window looks like. When we start actually building a document, you're going to have the document's going to show up here where I'm circling in the middle. But over here, where I'm moving my pointer now, you have a lot of different tools. We're not going to use all of these tools today, but we will use some of them. When you click on a tool, for instance, the Move tool here, this little kind of compass kind of thing with the crossed arrows. When you click on a tool, then down below in this area, you'll see options for that tool. So that is relevant information for you. So if you were using the Move tool, you've got that. If you click this rectangle select tool, then you have some other options down here that are specific to that tool. I'm going to start out just with the Move tool because this is what you would use to move things around on your image. Hannah, do we have any questions at this point? No questions yet? Okay. Or did Hannah mute herself? Okay.
I got it. Sorry. There are no questions as of yet, but if anyone has any questions, just type it in that little chat box. You can click on it on the lower part of your screen. We'll be happy to answer your questions.
All right. Very good. Curious how many people we've got. Oh, we've got 21 people now. That's fantastic. So as I was saying, this is the GIMP window. And let me cover up my browser there too, so that you're not having to look at the browser window. Okay, that's better. Now, let's just start by creating this document, and I think that you'll get an idea for how this works. So like most tools you have on a PC or a Mac, you've got a bunch of menu choices up here, and a lot of them are very similar to something you might use with Microsoft. So for instance, the File menu will allow you to create a new file, open existing files and whatnot. So I'm going to click New, and I'm going to bring this window to the center. So this is where you're going to start creating your image. I'm circling around here where it has the image size. So if you had a specific size image that you wanted to create that's not some kind of standard paper size or something, you could enter it here. The default setting gives you the width and height in pixels, but if you click here, you can change it to other units of measurement. You could change it to inches, millimeters. If you were talking about the size of font, you could change it to points, etc. For this project, I'm going to pretend that we have a restaurant and we have a bunch of standard letter size paper, and we're going to print off a temporary menu. So the first thing I'm going to do is click Template, and you're going to see all of these different options for paper size templates. If you were doing something like that you wanted to be sized for an iPhone 5, you could pick that, etc., etc. In this case, I'm going to just go up here to US letter. You can see here it's gone to 8.5 by 11 inches, and I'm going to click OK. And here is our image. Now, it's a little small. If you look down at the bottom where I'm circling, you're going to see that it's only at 18.2% zoom. Now, this is a pretty high resolution image. That's why it's so small, or it's displayed at such a small zoom level automatically. I'm going to click this arrow, and I like to change, in this case, change it to 25%. It makes it a little bit easier to work with, and everything's going to kind of resolve the way you want to with the finished product. So right now we have a blank sheet, and over here in the right-hand sidebar, in addition to having a bunch of tool information here, you see right here where I'm circling, it says background. So every time you put something new into this image, you're going to create a new layer here. So this is like you're actually, maybe you have transparencies that you're stacking one on top of the other. Maybe the bottom page is just a white piece of notebook paper, and then you put a transparency with something else on top of that, and another one on top of that, and so forth. So you're going to see what I mean, but my point now is that we're actually working with different layers of information. So here's our background, and I'm going to drop a little strategy on you now. when I'm working on something like this, I like to prepare my text and any images I'm going to use in advance. So what I like to do is just create a folder or directory on my computer. In this case, I called it menu files, and it's on my desktop. And I'm going to open that file. And you can see I have four, or that folder, I have 4 files in this folder. I've got an image of a boat. I have a logo that I created. I have a text file, and it's plain text. It's unformatted text. I created it in Google Docs. Actually, I took it off the flying fish menu from a local restaurant, and then I copied it into Google Docs and changed it a little bit, but this would be the text that I'm going to work with for this menu. And then I have this cartoon graphic of a swordfish that I just grabbed off of Google. I'm not recommending that you take other people's artwork. This is just an example. Maybe you have your own artwork for your restaurant or business, and you could use that. So I have all of this stuff prepared already. The first thing I'm going to do, I want to just get my logo. And it's hard to see right here in this window, but it says Bob's Seafood. You'll see it in a moment. And I'm just going to drag the logo over onto my project. You don't have to go to any menus and click import or anything. Just drag it. You can see the plus sign showing up. And I drop it, and there is my very super simple logo. You can also see over here in the right-hand sidebar, you've got a new layer that showed up that says bobslogo.gif, and that is laying on top of the background layer. So we have that, and you reposition my window a little bit. Now, I don't want my logo in the middle of the screen. That just happens to be where I dropped it. So this tool that I have already pre-selected, the Move tool, is the tool that I'm going to use to reposition it. Now, I'm going to show you something that can be very confusing. And if you get anything out of this class about using GIMP, this is what your takeaway should be. So you see these layers over here in the sidebar, and you see me put my cursor on. I picked the Move tool, and I have my cursor. And if you look at that cursor, you see kind of a little bullseye, and then you see those crossed arrows, and underneath that, you see the little pointing finger. Okay. If I move this down here, and I've got the pointing finger, and I hold it down to try to move it, look what happens. It's pulled everything, both layers, up and revealed the transparent canvas below. This can be incredibly frustrating with GIMP if you don't understand how to make this not happen. And I butted my head against this quite a lot when I was trying to figure this out. And I did a 5-hour online class on GIMP, and it didn't teach me this. So please remember this. So I'm going to go up here to your best friend under the Edit menu is Undo. So I'm going to do Undo, Move Layer, and we're back where we started. So what you want to do with this, your tool, move it until the little pointing finger goes away. Okay, now the pointing finger has gone away. I can hold my mouse button down, and I can reposition that. And I'm going to put it up here. Okay. Now, say I want to move it again. Well, I've still got that little pointy finger up there. I discovered this morning. Since I have the Move tool selected, I have options here for that tool. So again, over here in the tools area, you have a tool selected, and then options for that specific tool are made available to you. And so I was experimenting with this morning. Instead of saying pick a layer or guide, I just tried selecting move the active layer, thinking, well, maybe that will keep that weird thing from happening. So now the active layer is the one I've clicked. It's the darker one over here. That's the layer you're actually working on. Now, when I put my cursor over here, I don't have that little pointing finger at all, and I automatically can grab what I want to move. So I'm going to suggest that for stuff like this, by default, one of the first things you might want to check when you're working on something is that your move tool is set to move the active layer. Okay, I'm going to stop. Yes, please.
Oh, perfect timing. I know you're working on a Mac. Is that drag option, you can drag your files, is that the same on Windows?
Dragging a file into your project?
Yes, I'm assuming.
I'm assuming that it is too. Since I'm sitting in my little home office, I don't have my PC at work. I can't test that, but I would expect it's exactly the same. I'd expect you can just drag in there and it's going to work.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So we've put this menu or my logo in here. So obviously I could have typed text in there, but I wanted to be able to demonstrate how to put an image in there. So let's play with another image to drag in. By the way, I'm leaving the background white because I'm assuming that you're going to be printing on white paper and not wanting to waste a lot of toner with some kind of grayscale or color printing. This is a temporary menu. You could make the background any color you wanted to. You could make the text any color that you wanted to. All right, so I'm going to go back over to my desktop to that little menu, the files that I have set up in this folder, and I'm going to grab the little swordfish image, and we're going to play with one of the other tools. So I'm going to drag the swordfish into my project. And you can see that it's very small. You can also see over here that it's created its own layer on top of the Bob's logo layer. So you've got the background, and then sort of like a transparency with my logo on top of that, and then a transparency with the swordfish cartoon on top of that. This is where we get into really learning how to use these layers. So maybe I want this swordfish to be a little bit bigger. On a lot of applications, what you would do is select the item, and then you would get some little tags up in the corners, and you could drag them out and increase the size of the image. It doesn't work like that in GIMP, at least not that I've been able to accomplish. So you're working with the active layer here. Oh, by the way, I accidentally clicked here and I locked the layer. You see this little chain show up. Then I quickly unlocked it because I want to continue to be able to work on it. If I wanted to actually lock it down so I can't mess it up again, I would lock it. So I have this selected. There's a couple of ways to make this bigger. Actually, they're the same way, accessed different ways. You could go up to the top to the layer menu and go to Scale Layer. And this shows you the size of this image in pixels. It's a 300 by 350 image. You also see this little lock right here that means that the proportions are locked together. So for instance, if I change 300 to 600 and click Tab, it changes the height to 700. So it automatically keeps everything proportional. If you don't want to keep things proportional, you click the lock and unlock them. Let's see what this looks like. So I've changed it to 600 by 700, and I'm going to click the scale button, and you can see what happens to the swordfish cartoon. Okay, it's a little bigger. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. This time, instead of going to the layer menu, I'm on a Mac at home, but I have a mouse that has a right-click button. So I'm going to right-click on that layer, and you see the same menu pop up, and I'm going to go to Scale Layer again. And this time, instead of doing pixels, just to show you what it looks like, you can do percent, inches, whatever. I'm going to click percent, and I'm going to make this 150% of its original size, and you can see the height automatically scale to that. And I'm going to click Scale. Okay, now we've got this image a little bit bigger. You can see there's some text here that we're going to get rid of in a moment. But you also see that it's selected, it's the active layer because it's got this little line around it. If I click the background, now you see that. I'm going to go ahead and click that layer again. The other tool I'm going to start you with today, one of the others, is the erase tool. So if you go back over to the tools and you hover over them, you'll get the name of the tool. So you don't really have to guess. There's the paintbrush tool, there's the pencil tool, here's the erase tool. I'm going to select the erase tool. I get a bunch of options for it down here. The options are also over here, sort of like the how it's going to erase. You've got kind of a fuzzy circle erase here, then a hard circle erase, and then it can erase in all sorts of different patterns. I'm just going to pick this one and come down here, and I'm going to real quickly erase that text. See if I can get it all. Good. It looks like it's all gone to me. And then I can go back over to my move tool, and I can move this around. Okay. Now, maybe I want the swordfish's nose under the lettering of my logo. But you can see over here in the layers, the swordfish layer is sitting on top of my logo. That is easy to fix. All I've got to do is take the layer and hold it down and drag it. Now you can see that I changed the order of those layers. So that's not too bad. I'm going to leave it right like that for now. Actually, let me show you one other fun tool with this. Maybe you want the swordfish to be really big so it covers up a lot of the menu, but you don't want it to overpower the menu. You could drag it where you want it to. You could use the scale layer to make it really big, but then select the layer, and there's an option here for the opacity of the layer. So if I change the opacity to say 40%, you can see it kind of went gray. So you're seeing through that layer a little bit more. So maybe you have like a very light gray image of the swordfish in the background, and then you can have type over that so that you can still read the type. The swordfish isn't obscuring it. I'm going to go back and click undo layer opacity because I'm going to leave it like this for now. All right. Okay, so we've created a document in standard letter size. At this point, we've used two images. We've dragged a GIF image into it, and I think the swordfish is a PNG image. Doesn't really matter because GIMP converts all this stuff for you. I'm going to move this guy over just a little bit, reposition it where I think it looks a little bit better. Yeah, okay. Do we have any questions right now, Hannah?
Nothing yet. Keeping an eye on chat.
Okay, well, we've got 19 people that have stuck with us doing GIMP so far, so I appreciate that. We're 26 minutes in. There'll be plenty of time for questions at the end, too. So now I want to get some text in here. And like I said, I like to prepare everything before so that I'm not having to compose my text while I'm doing the creative work of making this menu. So my suggestion, if you're on a PC, you can just use any plain text editor like Notepad or something to create the text of your menu. Save it as a plain text file, TXT, so there's no formatting, there's no bolding, there's no nothing. So let me show you what I've got here. This is a menu. So I've got a section up here for appetizers, grilled salads, and whatnot that I took from the Flying Fish, one of my favorite restaurants I haven't been to in 2 months. And I like it to be in plain text because I know when I put it into an application like GIMP, I know exactly what I'm going to be getting, and then I can manipulate the text, the font and the size and style and everything from there. So I'm just going to start this thing by grabbing the entire appetizer section and copying that. And I'm going to go back here. Now we get to our next tool, which is the text tool. The text tool is really easy to find because it has the letter A. I'm going to click it. Okay. Again, I click that tool and I get a lot of options down here. One of them for the size in points, which is what you would expect for text. If I click on, well, it tells you here that I'm using Futura Medium. If you click here on the image of the font, you'll see all the other fonts that are available. You can pick whatever you want, obviously. You can pick the color of the font. I'm going to leave it black for now, but you could use this tool here to change the color if you wanted to. Right, left, center, justify, and whatnot. I'm going to leave everything the way it is just to keep things simple. But what I am going to pick, I really like to do this thing. I like to keep anti-aliasing on, which sort of smooths out the edges of your lettering. But I also like to use the editor. So when I click Use Editor, and then I click over in the image or the document we're working on, it brings up an editor. So right here, you could type in the text that you're going to want to use, or in this case, I'm just going to copy everything in there. And now I can move this over where I can actually see what I've done. And I can see it starts at the top with appetizers and ends with hula poppers. So it's put the entire thing in. I think this is a little big because I've got a lot of stuff to fit on this page. So what I can do is I'm going to double click kind of anywhere inside that text area and hit Control A. And you're going to see it selects each and every character that's inside there. Okay. I'm going to change our measuring unit here to points like we normally would have. So that's a 25-point font. And I'm going to change this to, let's go down to 15 and hit, let's see. It didn't do what I wanted it to. Give me a second here. 15. Okay. You know what? It's not working for me. That's weird. I'm going to give it one more try. Select everything. Go down to 15. And Hannah, if you see something I'm not doing, or you've got an idea why it's messing up on me, chime in. If you don't, that's okay.
Yeah, this is baffling me. So, ooh.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that happens sometimes. So, what I'm going to do then, you can see over here this layer called appetizers that I added in. I think the first thing I'm going to try this, and y'all, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I want this to be the topmost layer, so I'm going to just drag it to the top. Whether that's going to make any difference, I don't know, but I have the layer selected. I'm going to select everything in there. Click 15.00. Hit return. Yeah, it's not working for me. So let's try another route. Instead of fiddling with this anymore, I'm going to right-click on that layer, bring up the layer menu, and just click Delete Layer. And it's gone, and I can try this again.
Do you think you have to, this is coming from a patron, do you think that you have to change the font the font size before you paste the text? Would that have a factor?
That's actually what I'm about to do.
Ah, great minds think alike.
Yes, thank you, sir. But that is what I'm going to do. When I was fiddling with this program, kind of getting ready for the class, I didn't have to do that. So I don't know if that part of the program is glitchy or if I'm doing something wrong. But in any case, I still have the text tool selected. I'm going to change to 15 over here in the kind of control panel for that tool. And click back in here, bring up my menu. Okay.
That looks much better. Does that look about what you were aiming for?
That's about what I wanted. So yeah, here we go. That's a little better.
Hey, Bob, I was
Yes.
wondering, it says on the far left under future medium, it says the size is 15 points, but it looks like by default on the center menu, it has it measured in pixels. Should we change that drop-down menu or does that really?
I'm going to change it to points. Thanks for bringing that up because I've noticed that you can have it can measure it in points over here, and then this thing that pops up may still say pixels. Okay, so all right, and yeah, okay. So I want the heading of appetizers to be bold, so I'm going to double click and select all of the characters for appetizers. Click the bold, and we're good. Now let's see what it looks like. I'm going to click away from this layer, go back to the background. So that's not bad for a librarian, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move it a little bit. I'm going to click the move tool. I still have a move the active layer. So I'm going to make that, I'm going to make that the active layer. Now I can move it up here. And obviously, if I wanted to, I could do something like, I could use text to say, welcome, this is our temporary menu or whatever. So let's add a couple more things like this. Now, when I'm doing something like this, I like to do it in chunks so that I can move the different chunks around. So rather than creating like appetizers and then grilled salads all as one movable unit, I'm going to do them all as separate units. That way, if I want to reposition those sections, it's really easy to do that.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Do you have the move tool selected right now? Is that right?
I do. And up in the upper left-hand corner, I'm moving my pointer around the tools. I'm not sure how well everybody can see that, but that's what I'm doing. And you can see the move tool is actually the one that is selected. It's the dark one.
Okay, and so with that tool, you can click and hold and drag groups of your text around, correct?
That's right, because the way I would put it, Hannah, is that's correct, but what you're really doing is moving the whole layer around.
Oh.
And that's what's very confusing because if you look over here in the right sidebar, say look at the Bob's logo layer, you can see that it has a little white stripe up there that shows the positioning of my logo, but the rest of that whole thing is the layer. It's just a transparent background on the layer, okay? So when I actually drag this appetizers thing around, it's almost like I'm moving the whole transparency that's sitting on top of that. I'm moving the whole thing sideways.
Oh.
Okay, so that is, to me, when I realized that, I think that is very different than the way things work in Photoshop or Illustrator.
Mm-hmm.
And that was extremely confusing. So I want to alleviate that confusion for everybody. So when I take this, I've got the move tool selected, and actually, yeah, so I have again move the active layer selected as one of the move tool options. I make sure I'm on the active layer, and I can move it around.
Awesome.
Okay.
Would you really quick be able to show how to make that background layer transparent? We have a patron who's interested in some image quality and product photography type of stuff.
Okay, can you ask me that question again?
Sure. How do you make the background transparent?
Okay, let's go back to that.
Sure, we can circle back.
Yeah, please do. So that's a little bit off track, I think we're going to have time to do that. You'll have to bear with me because it may take me a minute or two to get it right.
Sure.
Um,
I'm writing that one down
but
right now.
what I'm and maybe while I'm doing this, you and our patron can talk about this. But the way I'm envisioning this is maybe the patron has an image that they would like to, that like in an existing photo, and they'd sort of like to cut out a section of that or an object from it and put that, and you put that in a separate image that would probably be a GIF image that has a transparent background. Just if you can verify that that's what he or she wants to do, then I think we can accomplish that.
Okay, I'll ask some more questions. In the meantime, I do have a separate question for you.
Yes.
How do you display the right-hand toolbar where the layers are listed? This patron is not seeing it whenever they start up GIMP by default.
Okay. So give me a second because I don't remember right off the bat. Let's see. So one thing I learned when I did my very long GIMP class is that all of these elements, there are that right-hand sidebar that they're not seeing on their application, you can make it pop up and then you can move things around. So you can customize the way these tools and these menus show up on your screen. I'm trying to remember what that is called. Okay, layers. Okay, good. Give me just a sec. View. So the answer right now is I'm not sure. And please get the information from our patron and we'll figure that out.
Okay, you got it.
So let's just finish this out real quick, and then we can explore some of these other questions as time permits. So I'm not gonna belabor this by like filling in all the text and whatnot. But let's go back to the menu, and I'm just going to grab this section called baskets. And I'm going to create another area here. I'm going to click the text tool. We're still on 15. We're still using the editor. I bring up the editor, paste it in. I'm going to highlight baskets and click the bold. I'm going to close that. Baskets is now our active layer. It's a new layer. I'm going to click the move tool and I'm going to move it over here. You can use the guides here to sort of help you line things up. It's not ideal for that, but you can do it. But I'm going to leave that right here. And then finally, just for fun, I'm going to drag my boat image over. And I've got a little boat. And again, you've got a new layer that pops up, boat, and you've got something that you could scale up and down. But obviously, I think you get the point. You can create these different areas through these layers and move them around to your heart's content. You could change the font size and everything like that. So let's see. What else have we got here? Thank you for the clarification. Okay. All right. All right. So that's basically how you would do something like this. Before we get on to the extra questions, there are a couple of other things I definitely want to hit. First, I'm going to save my GIMP project. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click Save As. And I'm going to save it to my desktop. And I'm going to title it Menu Page 1. .xcf. Okay, so y'all, XCF is simply the extension for a GIMP project file. So this is not something you're going to want to, you'll be able to share on Facebook or upload to some kind of image sharing. This is the project file. So if you open the project file, obviously you have to have GIMP to do that. All of your layers and everything are going to show back up immediately. So first thing I'm going to do is save that. Okay. Now, if I want to actually print this or whatever, I'm going to go to File, Export. And this is where I think this open source software is a little bit clunkier than something like a Microsoft product. You can see I've got my desktop selected, and it shows everything on my desktop. It just looks a little different. Down here under Select File Type, I'm going to click the plus sign, and it's going to show you all the different formats you can save it as. So in this case, you could save it as a JPEG or whatever. I'm going to pick portable document format, which obviously is PDF. And I'm going to export that to my desktop. Export image as PDF, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to go ahead and click export. Okay. Let me see if I can find it now. This may take me a minute because it's on my other desktop and it's a little messy. Oh, here we go. I'm going to drag it over here. So it's a PDF file. And, that's weird. It doesn't look too good. It kind of messed it up. So I'm not sure exactly what happened.
It looks like maybe did it export it as a landscape versus what is it, vertical view? It looks like maybe it skewed it.
Yeah, that's really weird too. I'm having some odd things happen with GIMP, which I guess, sorry folks, that's not very impressive, is it? Let's see.
The territory of free software sometimes.
It does. Let's do, I'm curious, let's go to Save As. And, okay, it's not giving me the export options. I was just curious if they were going to be there too.
Yeah, normally save as, it'll let you save as type, correct? Or is that just in Photoshop?
I think that's just Photoshop. Let me, hang on. Let's go down here. I'm going to try it one more time. And then I'm going to throw my hands up in frustration, but because it's worked in my previous experiments here. Let's go back to PDF.
I'm interested in, if it doesn't work with PDF, I wonder if PNG or JPEG would make it any different.
We'll try that for sure. So PDF, replace.
All right, fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll see. If not, yeah, I still kind of messed it up. So, well, I don't have an explanation for that for you folks. I'm really sorry about that. I'm going to take Hannah's advice, and we're going to go to export as, let's see how it looks as a JPEG.
I know sometimes PDF just does something funky with certain file formats, so yeah, maybe a JPEG or a PNG would be best.
Yeah, we'll try JPEG first.
Let's see.
I am curious. Oh, this one's going to be better. Okay, so I'm opening up the JPEG, and I'll drag it over there for y'all to see. Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's
the JPEG worked.
better.
So yeah, apparently it's not converting properly to PDF. I think what you could do is, obviously you could print out the JPEGs, or you could import these letter-sized JPEGs into a new PDF document and then save it from some program that's actually designed for creating PDFs. So there you go. That was weird, but
Live troubleshooting.
weird things are where you learn. Okay, so I am going to try to create something with a transparent background, and please bear in mind that it's going to take me a minute to figure out how to do this. So
in regard to that patron's question we covered earlier.
Yes, absolutely, and then we'll try to take some more. So give me a second to locate a picture of Godzilla. You can tell I teach classes to children a lot. Okay, so I'm going to pick this picture of Godzilla mainly because it's got a white background, and it's going to probably be easy to cut Godzilla out of the background, whereas one of these others with more diverse colors would be difficult. So give me a second to save this image. To my desktop, it's a JPEG image. Okay. And I am going to start a new document for this. And I'm going to go to US letter again. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let me try just opening that image. Okay. So we have a new image that we're working with. You can see the layer over here called Godzilla 1. I'm going to just try using the fuzzy select tool to see if it'll get rid of all the white. Delete, please. Doesn't seem like it wants to do that. Ah, okay. I know what I want to do now. So, okay. Okay, so I've got this. Now I'm going to go to the layer menu and click new layer. And I'm going to put this layer, eventually I'm going to put it under the one that we've been using. And you can see here, I've got it filled with transparency because I was playing with this, doing exactly what you're talking about a couple of weeks ago. You could pick colors, but I'm going to make it a transparent layer. And I'm just going to click OK. Okay, so now if you look over in my list of layers, you see that it's calling it a text layer, although I have no text in it. You can tell it's transparent because there's nothing there and it's just a checkerboard background. It's laying on top of the Godzilla layer, so we're seeing through the text layer and we're seeing the Godzilla layer below it. So now I'm going to move Godzilla to the top layer. Okay. Now I've got Godzilla selected. Now let's try the fuzzy select tool again. And I click delete. Is it going to work for me? Come on.
What if you did the fuzzy select tool and then sometimes I have luck with cutting that layer and pasting it on a layer above. Do you think that would work?
Yeah, maybe. Let me try one more time. Yeah, it's not working for me. Okay. Tell me what you were doing, Hannah.
I have had good luck, at least in Photoshop, with that magic wand tool. You select Either the background or Godzilla itself. And then I just do a control cut, control paste, and it should paste it on an upper layer.
Okay.
It's like a backwards way to do it, but there's so many different ways to, do something in a Photoshop, or a
Yeah.
photo program.
Okay. Well, that's not working for me either. Try and remember how I did this. Okay. Here. Let me just see what happens if I use the erase tool and make sure I'm able to erase at all.
Oh, that might be the issue.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's not allowing me to erase. So that's funny. I wonder why it would not allow me to do that.
It's a JPEG, so that's odd.
Yeah. I've got another idea. Sometimes you just have to try all these different things. Give me a second here. I'm going to just merge down. So we've got one layer. I'm going to export. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to export it as a GIF. Okay. And I'm going to do a new document. I am going to open Godzilla1.gif. Okay. I'm going to do a new layer with a transparent background. I'm going to put Godzilla on top of that. And now I'm going to try, I'm just curious if changing the format. Boy, that is not working. Okay, so which patron is asking about that?
Let me see here.
Is it Ranjit?
No, this is, I believe, Prajakta.
I'm sorry. It will do this. I wasn't quite prepared to teach it, so I'm fumbling around a bit, but it will do this.
Do you think creating a blank document and then dragging the image onto it would treat it differently?
Let's try that. So let's just, again, let's do US legal, or let's do US letter rather. And the reason I didn't do that in the first place was because I didn't see a place in here to define whether the new document is transparent or not. That's the reason I didn't do it. But you know what? Let's just give it a try. Okay, so obviously that's not a transparent background, but I'm curious if I right click on it.
Can you delete that layer? Would that make it that checkered background?
Let's try. Yeah, brilliant idea.
Oh my goodness, it worked.
Now let's just let's see if I can drag Godzilla in here and see if it'll work for us. If not, this may be another one that I have to get back with our patron on and just see what happens. Okay, so we've got this layer here that is really small. The thing I like about this, though, is that it didn't create a new layer. It basically just gave us a kind of a transparent background under Godzilla. Let me scale this a little bit so we can see it better. Let's make it like 250%. Okay, now I'm going to try the magic eraser or the magic wand. Yeah, it's like it's trying to work, but it's not working. Okay, so please get Hannah your information, and I will figure this out when I'm thinking more clearly. It's a great question, and it totally can do this. There's some detail of this that I'm missing. We're at 57 minutes. Joanne says when I use the fuzzy tool and then go to edit cut, then the transparent background disappears. Oh, well, that's a good idea too. I'm going to go to select none and fuzzy select. And you said select. Huh. Well, I'm not having any luck with it, folks. So anyway,
I did
edit
just
cut.
I did just advertise in chat.
Oh, we got it. She's right. Yay. Thank you, Joanne. Maybe you should be teaching this and not me. Okay, so the way she did it was she used the fuzzy select tool like I did, but then she went to the edit menu and click cut, and that got rid of the background, leaving just Godzilla sitting there on the transparency. So that's awesome. Now, the other piece you need to know about this, though, is to keep it transparent. And I'm going to go up here and say select none. So to keep it transparent, you probably want to export it as a GIF, because I don't think JPEG supports that.
Does PNG support
I don't know. I'm going to select it as a GIF, and I'm going to call it Godzilla 2 and export it. Okay. Now I'm just going to try to open that file that I created. Let's see what it looks like when I open it. Okay, it retained the transparent background. So that's a great question, Joanne. Thanks for the tip there. And Prajakta, yeah, PNG for transparent, GIF too. It sounds like some of y'all are pretty far along in your editing. So anyway, we're at 5 o'clock. Got to call it quits. I really appreciate y'all hanging with us. I hope this wasn't completely frustrating. Before we go, I do want to show you something, because what we can do is go to planolibrary.org, and this is our website. And if you go to Learn, click the Learn link, and then you go to Research and Learn. This is all the databases and whatnot that we subscribe to on y'all's behalf. You have access to them. Click the H through N tab, scroll down and click lynda.com. You can log in. And if you type in GIMP, you will see GIMP Essential Training. This is the one that I took that clearly didn't completely take with me, but it's a 5-hour class it is a great overview of the whole application. And you can see it explains what all the tools do and all of that stuff. And it still didn't teach the little thing about the move tool and move the active layer to keep you from wanting to throw your computer out the window. Do you have anything to add, Hannah?
No, I just learned a lot. I'm definitely a Photoshop gal myself, and it seems like GIMP is a very powerful tool with a few different caveats, but I think it can stand toe-to-toe to Photoshop, so it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it really can. As I said, for something like this, I think it for that menu project, it might be overkill. There's probably, I know there are easier ways to do something like that. But I think if you get good with GIMP,
Mm-hmm.
it's a really useful tool, and it's free, and it's cross-platform, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks a lot. And we're going to sign off, but we do appreciate you hanging with us. Hopefully you learned something, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Goodbye.